Hello everyone. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit different for this episode. I'm not going to be taking any notes. I did start a little bit of notes, but I decided that we'll change it up. There is a risk involved, and that's I may miss out on some important deets. But I've noticed that a lot of the episodes with notes seem to follow a formula. It's like I mention a few aspects of the certain topic at hand, and then we're done. More often than not, that's how it is. So I thought that I might do it differently for this episode. I don't think this will be a permanent change, but I just wanted to see how it'll work for this episode. And with that out of the way, let's get on with the topic. So WALL-E, it was a damn good movie. It's 13 years old almost, so I'm sure you've seen it by now, but is it Pixar's best? Possibly. I mean, it's definitely in the top 5, or hell, maybe even the top 3. Of course, that's a matter of opinion, because it's hard to decide what the very best Pixar movie is, and of course, it's going to vary from person to person. So yeah, but I love the movie. However, though, if you want your movies to have your characters talking, WALL-E might not be for you, because for the first third, there's not really any words, because WALL-E doesn't speak. Well, he kind of does, but it's like Mario, it's very rare. In fact, he speaks less than Mario because he doesn't even speak full sentences. He'll say, WALL-E, and maybe a few other things, but he doesn't say full sentences. At least Mario can say a full sentence every now and then, but I digress. It's probably Pixar's shortest script for any film ever. I wouldn't be surprised. Now, it was a good movie, but, well, where do I begin? The title of this episode is called WALL-E and His 700 Years. Now, the movie takes place in the year 2805. That is pretty far ahead. Now, there's been lots of movies that have tried to predict the future. We all know Back to the Future Part 2 when Marty goes to 2015, and once it was actually 2015, everybody laughed at how wrong they were. They try to get the products that the movie had in time for, October 21st of that year. They try to get the hoverboards and the self-lacing shoes and some other thing, I don't remember, but turns out hoverboards are just boards on wheels these days. They don't really hover yet. And self-lacing shoes, if those were a thing, I would have bought like 10 pairs. But they're not. Or at least they're very expensive at least. I'm sure we have the technology to do it, it's just, I don't know why we haven't attempted it yet. But that's not the point. So basically, if you're going to make a movie that takes place in the future, you should probably pick a year that is way out there, like 2805, because nobody's going to be alive to see that, at least when the movie came out. People in 2805 are probably not going to want to watch this movie anyway, because it's going to be so outdated. But, it's hard to predict the future. We know the past, but the future is pretty much impossible to predict. We can kind of make rough estimates, but really, we don't know what's going to go on. We don't know what's happening. So, the problem with this movie is that, well, to put it this way, the plot of the film is that humans have moved away from Earth, which will probably be a reality eventually. I'm sure we'll still be living on Earth for a long time, but if we do move to other planets, eventually we will probably have abandoned Earth. Maybe. I don't know. It's kind of hard to leave the planet that human society has been in since day one, but... So, yeah, humans have gone to this big-ass axiom. Now, let's talk about that real quick. So if we ever do leave Earth and we decide, this place ain't important anymore, we'll probably have moved on to Mars or some other suitable planet. I don't think we'll be living in a giant spaceship. I don't think that would be healthy. I don't think that would work out too well. And I've read once that all 700-something billion people would take up half the country of Belgium. And I think I've mentioned that in a previous episode, but anyways, so half the country of Belgium, dude, how do you build a ship that's that huge? And that's just when they're all crowded together. Like, imagine if they needed to have space to themselves. Yeah, no way in hell. I don't care if it's 2805 or 3805. We ain't doing that. That is too big of a ship. If it's going to be that big, it should probably be the size of planet Earth. And when you see it land in the end of the movie, spoiler alert, but when it goes to Earth at the end, it looks way smaller than it should. Now, about WALL-E, he looks like a freaking robot from the 80s or something. And apparently, if this movie is suggesting what it's suggesting, WALL-E will be 700 years old when the movie takes place, which means he will be created early 2100s. They couldn't have picked any more futuristic looking materials to design WALL-E with. He looks like a cube. In fact, he is a cube. I mean, chances are this movie's not accurate at all, and 2805 will look way different than it does in the movie, but we can still use our imagination at least. But what I want to know is why Wall-E was the only robot on Earth of his kind, because we see that in the film, let's just say 2105. So, 2105, a bunch of Wall-Es are starting to clean up the Earth after humans have left, which, by the way, why even bother? If nobody's living there, then why even clean it up? But I digress. So, a bunch of Wall-Es are taking over the world and making trash cubes and building a whole city out of it. I don't know. Maybe a lot of them died off or something, but it just makes no sense to me why Wall-E would be the only one of his kind just laying around 700 years later, and I don't know. Now, some channel called Film Theories, or whatever it's called, actually stated that in the movie, the whole entire planet is full of trash for some reason. And, we've established that, or at least they established, that all the trash that has been made in 100 years would fill up a small portion of Delaware, the second smallest U.S. state. So even in 10,000 years, we still wouldn't have filled up the whole U.S. with trash. And besides, if anything, we're producing less trash than we used to. It's called recycling, I don't know what it's called, but basically, we're using less materials to make our everyday items than we used to. Glass bottles are now plastic bottles, and those plastic bottles are now thinner plastic. So who knows what the future will bring after that. But we're finding ways of using less resources to make our everyday necessities. So if anything, it's going to be less trash in the future. So I don't think it's enough. I mean, it might be enough to make a whole city out of, I don't know. And please don't imply that Wall-E built that whole big-ass trash city by himself, because I'm sure he didn't. It had to be some other Wall-Es that helped him out or something, I don't know. I mean, it's not like E.T. where the other E.T.s leave him behind, and he's the only one on that planet. Even there, I think it's kind of confusing, because they couldn't have done a roll call where, they made sure everybody was on the ship before they left or something. But at least it makes sense, because all the E.T.s have left. Here, all the Wall-Es have been on Earth, and it's there's only one left. Look, I'm sure there will be a last death. When humans go extinct, if they ever. But when they go extinct, I'm sure somebody will be the last one standing. But I'm sure it won't be that long after the second last one will have died. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. I mean, I don't think the movie implies when the other Wall-Es died off, but Wall-E is a 700-year-old robot, and he's still doing his job, and he's the only one around. Give it a rest, buddy. Come on. Well, folks, I think I'm going to end the episode here. I will see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye. And there might be a script for that one. In fact, there probably will be. But anyways, goodbye.